I love the analogy of a journey for our goals. And again, I talk about having a roadmap and milestones. And yes, there is a destination for this goal, but this is not the last goal that you're ever going to set. Achieving one goal gives us the confidence and the motivation to go after another goal. And we set those goals higher and higher. And as we achieve them, we have more confidence and more motivation. Hi, I'm Chris LeBrun, your host of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. As someone who's never been afraid of dreaming big and going for it all, I often find myself with a lot on my plate. I'm a husband and father, a nonprofit fundraiser, and an entrepreneur. What I've realized is my view of productivity was pretty toxic. After decades of believing that in order to do more, you had to work harder, I began to see productivity as this beautiful thing. Holistic productivity is the idea that you can accomplish your professional, personal, and purpose-driven goals in a healthy way, and doing so will make you happier and more fulfilled. Join me each week as we break down myths about productivity, share practical tips for maximizing your time, energy, and focus, and hear from others about their productivity journey. This is the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. Hello, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. My name is Chris LeBrun. I'm your host. I'm a productivity coach, and I am just so glad that you are here for this episode. I say this all the time, but it really is true. I know that you could be listening to so many other podcasts right now. You could be watching TV. You could be, doing any number of things. And the fact that you are listening to this, even if you're listening to it while you're doing other things, that's okay. I'm just so glad that you are here and you are making this a priority. If this is the first time that you're listening to the show, I'm even more excited that you're here, and hope that you subscribe and follow so that you will not miss another episode. Hopefully you can go back and check out the episodes that you missed. But going forward, I don't want you to miss anything. So make sure you subscribe, follow, and if you've been listening for a long time, would you rate the show? Would you tell us what you think about it? Hopefully that's 5 stars. That helps other people find the show and is beneficial for them. So thank you so much for doing that. Well, I'm just so excited about today's episode. We've talked a lot about setting goals in previous episodes. Episode number 4, we talked about how they relate with projects and tasks and what some of the differences and similarities are between goals, projects, and tasks. In episode 5, we looked at SMART goals and how we can go beyond just that SMART goal framework to actually create a goal roadmap to help us hit our short-term goals. And today I want to build on all of that conversation, but I want to look at the mindset that we need to have when we're going after our goals and chasing our dreams. This is an important part of holistic productivity. It is part of what this is all about, finding what matters most and going after that, trying to achieve that. But having that right mindset is important. So we're going to talk about 3 things today that help you have that right mindset. And hopefully, as you chase your dreams, that will come in handy and help you in that endeavor. The first thing I want to look at today is the idea that goals are not the destination. And that's probably what you think. We've all been sort of programmed to think that the goal is the pinnacle. And once I reach the goal, that's it. Once I hit my target weight, I don't have to practice good nutrition or exercise anymore. Once I launch my business, I won't have to work again. That's funny. We all understand when we say it like that is just not true. You have to continue to have good nutrition, to continue to exercise if you want to keep at that target weight. Once you launch your business, you have to continue to work maybe even harder than you did before to keep that business running. I love the analogy of a journey for our goals. And again, I talk about having a roadmap and milestones. And yes, there is a destination for this goal, But this is not the last goal that you're ever going to set. For most people who travel, it's not just a once in a lifetime thing. Travel becomes addictive and you want to experience more of the world. And I have been to my fair share of countries. I've been blessed. Work has taken me to 5 continents and, 20 something countries. But I want to see more because I've had those experiences. The same is true for our goals. Achieving one goal gives us the confidence and the motivation to go after another goal. And we set those goals higher and higher. And as we achieve them, we have more confidence and more motivation. When this episode comes out, we are going to be in graduation season for a lot of schools, for high schools, for colleges. I know there's already a lot of them that have happened. But if you think about the graduation service, what do we call it? We're celebrating the end of our educational experience, whether it's high school or college or graduate school. But we call it commencement, the beginning of something. We don't call it termination. We don't call it concludement, if that's even a word. I don't think it is. But even while we're celebrating the completion of a goal, we're looking forward in that final ceremony to starting our next goal, whether that's going on to college, joining the workforce, taking a graduate degree, whatever it is. My profession has been in fundraising. I've spent 25 years plus in the nonprofit space. Most of that has been in fundraising. And what do you have in fundraising? You have goals. Every single year, we have an annual fundraising goal for how much money we have to raise by the end of the fiscal year. For most organizations, that is December 31st. And so what happens? December comes, you hit your goal, it's December 31st, you're all excited, and January 1, you have a new goal. You have a new goal for the new year, and all of a sudden, all of that celebration is over and done because now you have to start fundraising for the next year's goal. And, if you don't have the right mindset, that can be hard to deal with, right? Because we want to celebrate those goals, and we should. But it's important to remember that hitting a goal does not mean that we've come to the end of our goal-seeking process. There's always another goal to go after. And that brings us to our second point, which is the importance of setting realistic goals. It's important for our mental attitude and our confidence to be able to achieve the goals that we set. And if you set the goal too low, there's no drive or motivation, right? It's just like, well, that's easy. Our brain actually wants to be challenged and wants to be stretched. Your brain knows when you're setting a goal low just so that you can get the win. And it's not as fulfilling, it's not as rewarding, and you don't have the same motivation and drive to go after that goal. On the other hand, if you set your goals too high, you'll never reach them. And that can eat away at your confidence. Not just your confidence, but the confidence that others have put in you, whether it's your team members or your customers or your stakeholders. When they see you miss those goals, something starts to click in their head. Hey, maybe this organization can't reach its goals. Maybe this person can't reach their goals. So you have to find that balance. Make sure that you have something that you're going after, that you can work for, that your brain knows is a hard goal to reach, but also something that is achievable. I think I've mentioned before that last year I started running. I've always had bad knees, and I've told myself that I couldn't run. But in August, a friend of mine was having a 5K for her nonprofit that she works at. And so I wanted to go and support her nonprofit. I said, you know what? 3 miles, I can do that. I've done it before. It's not been fast, but if nothing else, I can walk, and I can walk a pretty good, 3 miles. That's easy. So I did that, and my knees didn't hurt. It was fun. It was great. I raised some money for her nonprofit, and then a friend at work challenged me to join her in running a 10K. This in November across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, and I said, well, that's actually be kind of cool to run across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And so, but it's 6 miles. Again, I can walk if I need to, but if I want to run, I need to actually train for this, because I haven't really run 10K since I was a teenager, probably. I've hiked it, I've walked it, but let me train for this. And so I did. And I trained, and I beat my target goal for that race, and everything was great. And I realized during that process, as I was training for the Chesapeake Bay Bridge race last November, that my knees are not good, but they weren't actually the problem. The problem was I was out of shape, right? I needed to be in better physical shape if I wanted to improve my run. So I kept going with the training and races. And, this year already, I've run a 5K and a couple of 10Ks. Now, my natural instinct at this point would be to want to jump to the next thing, to jump to that half marathon right away. Let's pause here for a quick break. We'll be right back. This episode is sponsored by Efficient.app. Big shout out to Alex and Andra from Efficient.app for sponsoring the Wholistic Productivity Podcast from the very beginning. We love that. When you are looking for new software, Efficient.app is the place to go. They have already done all the research for you, which saves you the headache of doing a trial of every single app you want to look at. They offer hundreds of product reviews and comparison videos that are informative and fun to watch. Want to hear how Motion stacks up against Monday.com or Asana or ClickUp? They have a review for that. Here's what I love. They promise no BS software reviews. They tell you exactly what they love and what they don't love. And best of all, they have negotiated special deals, discounts, or even extended trial periods for a bunch of different products. If you're going to look for software, do yourself a favor and let Efficient.app do the work for you. Click on the link in the show notes. That's the best way to get there, because you'll let them know that you appreciate them sponsoring the Holistic Productivity Podcast as well. Check them out, Efficient.app. The link in the show notes. You won't regret it. And, I could do it. I have no doubt of that. Again, my time would not be great. I probably would struggle a little bit at it, but I could do it. What I've decided to do, instead of just jumping to that half marathon, is focus on improving my time at the 10K race. And so I have intentionally not registered for a bunch of half marathons. And I keep looking at them. I keep saying, oh man, I want to do that. I want to run that, because that's where my brain is going. I want to hit that goal. But what I'm realizing is it's more important to reach that goal when the time is right, to aim for something a little bit that is still beyond me, but achievable. And that's dialing in my time at the 10K level. And I have also decided that to sort of appease my desire to do something more challenging, I'm going to run the Army 10 miler in October. So not quite going to that half marathon. As I train for the 10 miler, though, I'm working on improving my times at the 10K. And that is my goal for now, right? So making sure that you are still stretching yourself, but you're also working towards something that is a little bit beyond your current abilities. The last thing I want to talk about in this episode is your mindset for when you don't reach your goals. And that is going to happen. You are going to set goals that you're not able to reach. And sometimes they are going to be important goals. Sometimes they're going to be goals that mean so much to you. As a kid, growing up, we didn't go to Disney World. We didn't go to, overseas for vacations. We didn't fly to tropical islands. We went backpacking. We went camping. My dad and I especially, but my mom would come camping as well. But my dad and I would go backpacking in the White Mountains in New Hampshire. And I loved that. I loved hiking on the Appalachian Trail. If you don't know, the Appalachian Trail runs 2,197 miles from Maine to Georgia. And so I had grown up in that world. And in college, a buddy and I were talking about hiking and the Appalachian Trail. And we said, why don't we hike that? Why don't we just go out and hike it, start in Maine, go all the way to Georgia? And wouldn't that be an adventure? And that was a lifelong goal of mine in college, to hike the Appalachian Trail all the way through. I'd heard stories. I'd probably met through hikers at some point. And so we started planning, we started training. Back then the internet was barely around. And so there wasn't a lot of resources online. I remember buying books that would tell you where all the post offices were. You could mail your food supplies there, and how to plan out this amazingly long hike, right, from Maine to Georgia. And so the school year got over in 1997. My friend and his parents drove us to Maine, and we were getting ready to start. But the problem was that Mount Katahdin, which is the northern terminus there of the Appalachian Trail, was not open yet for the season. There was still snow on the mountain. It was not passable. His parents couldn't just stay until the mountain was open. So we figured out we would start at a different point on the trail. We would hike south for a ways, and then we would get transported back up, do Katahdin, and then come back down and pick up where we had left off. It's called leapfrogging. We started at probably the worst possible place you could start your Appalachian Trail journey. It's called the 100-Mile Wilderness. And for more than 100 miles, there are no road accesses. There's no way to get resupplied. And so we knew that we had to go in with as much food as we needed for that 100 miles. The problem was we didn't know how much food we were going to eat each day. And we didn't know how long it was going to take us to hike 100 miles. We'd never hiked 100 miles before at one time. And so we just loaded up to make sure that we didn't run out of food partway through. We loaded our packs far more than we should have. And you're probably seeing where this is going, but the first few days in on this journey of a lifetime for me, my knees blew out. I told you my knees were bad. They'd been bad when I was a kid. Because of all that weight in my pack, probably weight that I didn't need, my knees gave out. And my dream of hiking the Appalachian Trail was poof, gone. Long story short, I got rescued by the Boy Scouts. They helped me get out. That's a whole nother story. But that was a horribly deflating and depressing situation. And it affected me in ways that I did not understand until years later. And I think what's important to understand about these times when we miss our goals and when they are so important to us, it's important not to get depressed. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed, but depression will keep you further from your goals than ever before. And if you find yourself getting depressed, or if you're concerned about that, it's important to talk to somebody. Talk to a professional. Make sure that you are getting the help that you need to be able to process this loss. And that's really what it was for me. It was a loss of a lifelong dream, something that I had always wanted to do. Now, when you miss a goal, and especially when it's an important goal, it's also important to analyze why you missed the goal. This will help you in the future to set better goals, to be better prepared to achieve your goals. It'll also help you boost your confidence. Yeah, I had bad knees, but the weight of my pack was the real problem. Once I accepted that fact, it helped me to realize that I wasn't necessarily a total failure. I had made some bad choices, but I was not a failure. I wasn't able to achieve my goal, but there were other reasons for that. When we miss our goals, it's important to look for the positive, not just for the mental attitude component to fight off that depression. We also need to stay positive so that we can look for a change of strategy and direction. Sometimes one failure can lead to the realization that there is another path to take. That wasn't necessarily the case for me on the Appalachian Trail. I've never gotten back to through hike the whole thing. I've done several sections. I still go out and hike regularly, and I'm still trying to work towards my goal of hiking the whole thing eventually. It's going to take me the rest of my life, but sometimes change of strategy and direction are important. And we can say, I need to go this way. I thought this was the path I needed to take, but it's actually over here. When we have a positive outlook, we can look for those things that help point us in another direction, the strategy change that we need to make so that we can keep going and either achieve the original goal or set another goal that is similar but is right for these new circumstances. So that is a look into mindset around our goals. And let's recap what we've talked about today. Goals are not the final destination. They're just milestones on our journey. That's why we call our graduation service commencement. It's to inspire us for the next stage of the journey. We're celebrating one goal ending and the next one starting. That's why it's important to set realistic goals and have realistic expectations. It's so critical. It affects our attitude and our confidence and the confidence that others have put into us. Your goals should stretch you beyond what you're capable of today, but they should still be achievable, something that you can actually reach. And having the right attitude when we don't achieve our goals is important. We need to manage our emotions. It's okay to be sad, but we shouldn't become depressed. And if we start to go down that road, make sure that we are finding somebody that we can talk to, a professional. We want to analyze the reasons that we didn't reach our goal so that we can improve our performance in the future. And we want to stay focused on the positive as we set new goals and find a new direction to go when we run into a roadblock. So that is our show for today. Thank you for being here. I hope this has inspired you as you are looking at goals that you are setting in your life, whether it's a professional goal, a personal goal, or a purpose-driven goal. I hope that this will keep you focused so that you can find success each and every time. Check out the show notes. You can find those at holisticproductivity.com/12. That is where you will find any links to anything that we've talked about in this episode and some of the other episodes that I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this show. Make sure that you're subscribed. We are on every podcast platform that you are probably using to listen to podcasts. You can find us there on all of those major platforms. Also on YouTube, if you want to watch the show, you can check out my Lego collection behind me or part of it. So you can watch that on YouTube. Next week, we're going to talk about the biggest productivity killers out there. You do not want to miss that. So make sure you are subscribed and you can get that episode when it drops on Tuesday. Also, follow Holistic Productivity on all of the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can find us there at Holistic Productivity. I put out a lot of great productivity tips and motivation throughout the week. You do not want to miss that as well. Thank you so much for listening. And it really does mean a lot to me that you are here, that you are focused on your goals. As always, my goal with this podcast is that it will help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Before I sign off, close your eyes for a minute, unless you're driving. But close your eyes and imagine this. It's Friday. You're excited for the weekend. TGIF, right? You're wrapping up the work week, getting ready to leave the office. But as you're walking out the door, you start to reflect on the week and you say, what did I even accomplish this week? It's a frustrating feeling and a horrible way to start your weekend. You know that you've worked hard all week, but you have little or nothing to show for it. If you've ever had these feelings at the end of your week, I have a special offer for you to help you on your productivity journey. I talk about it all the time. Being intentional with your time is one of the biggest parts of productivity. And one of the best ways you can be intentional is to plan your week. Planning your week provides clarity on your priorities. It eliminates confusion about what needs to be done, and it sets you on a path for success. Now, I've developed the perfect tool to help you plan your week. I call it my Sunday strategy, and I want to give you my Sunday strategy worksheet and guide absolutely free when you sign up for my weekly newsletter. The guide offers clear strategies for using the principles of holistic productivity to plan your week. You'll have a mindset shift away from the toxic aspects of productivity, and you'll get step-by-step directions for using the Sunday strategy worksheet. With my Sunday strategy, you only need 15 minutes each Sunday to plan out your entire week. It'll let you identify major projects and tasks that are coming up, assign those projects to specific days, and best of all, there are different sections for each area of your life: professional, personal, and purpose-driven, so you can reach all of your goals. My Sunday strategy worksheet also includes a weekly habit tracker to keep you focused on the habits that you want to develop. So if you want to avoid those Friday feelings of frustration and despair, you need my Sunday strategy worksheet. It's the perfect planning tool to help you build the winning strategy for your week. It's a resource you can come back to each day to keep you focused on reaching your goals, and it's an accountability tool to help you track your progress. Basically, it can help you have the most productive week ever. Like I said, it is completely free when you sign up for my weekly newsletter, which also features more strategies and tips to help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. To get my Sunday strategy worksheet and guide, go to mysundaystrategy.com and sign up. That's mysundaystrategy.com. There will also be a link in the show notes, but again, mysundaystrategy.com. Look forward to having you back here for the next episode of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast.